So Uncharted 4's came out, so we've all got to talk about, does Nathan Drake kill too many people? No, but there's a bit more to it than that. So if you could stick around, I'll try and make my argument. Okay, here's the thing. We have this thing, it comes up every now and again, whether it's Bioshock Infinite or fucking Doom. I can't take that bit seriously. I can't take the idea that you kill too much shit in Doom as a serious discussion. But I think that the overall feeling seems to be that there are two tones. There is something like Mario or Smash Brothers, just a cartoony mishmash, where the fact that you kill cartoon turtles is fine, and then there's when it's realistic, it's not, and it needs to be more in line with a traditional action movie where Drake would kill maybe 23 people or 10 people. I don't know. Go watch all those Indiana Jones films and take a running list. Someone has already. The point is that not really. You see, let's look at there's the Star Wars thing. I've heard a couple of times. I know it's from Clerks. I think I've never watched it. I'm not personally a fan of Kevin Smith in general, but there's the discussion of the Death Star. Like, how bad was it that Luke destroyed the Death Star? How many people died on the Death Star? Did the second Death Star crash into another planet and lead to mass death? Oh, but and the answer is no, none of that happened, and no, it doesn't matter that anyone died on the Death Star, because that's not what Star Wars is about. But it's because Star Wars is a fucking children's film. I know someone's going to take offense at that, but it is. Star Wars is a family movie. It's not interested in. Have you ever considered how many orcs died in Lord? No, it's ultimately, maybe it will play a little lip service to it, but that stuff is kind of for children, and it's similar to Indiana Jones when you get down to it. But you see, it's a bit just saying it's for children. That's not all of it. Part of it is that stuff's just not tonally there. It's not Save the Green Planet. It doesn't want to dwell on the actual nastiness of killing someone, because that's not what it's about, and neither is Uncharted. And we get this thing where we have to go, well, what if we milded it? Like, one thing I will say wouldn't go amiss is simply toning down the level of violence. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have the GTA 4 effect where some enemies seem to be limping and don't seem to be quite dead when you shoot them. Something GTA 4 did, which the others didn't, largely, I'm guessing, to try and make Nico seem more sympathetic. I don't know. Like, that wouldn't go amiss, but then again, it would kind of draw more attention to it. See, one of the worst pieces of writing in Uncharted is actually the final scene towards the end, one of the final scenes towards the end of 2, where the villain addresses how many people have you killed or something, and it doesn't actually matter, because the amount of deaths Nate causes doesn't matter, because the tone and its treatment of death isn't serious, which isn't an issue. It's just that's how it is. That's what it is. It could be worse. I've said I don't like the new Tomb Raiders, and I don't know. Have I said I've basically said I think they're very mediocre, and the writing is actually one of the issues there, because it tries to make the deaths harsh and nasty and have like a cutscene where they treat it serious, but the game is ultimately a cover shooter, so you kill tons of people, and it's I just feel it comes down to the tone something's going for. Like, fuck it, let's talk about something less popular. Tales of the Abyss treats the act of killing a human character quite seriously, to the point where they actually like bring it up and talk about it. That's a JRPG. And then you've got Tales of Graces and Tales of Symphonia, which have a much lighter tone overall compared to Abyss, which never mention it. Like, you kill a ton of guys in that, it's never treated all that seriously. They never really aggressively bring it up. Like, did they feel particularly bad about murdering like 20 guys for XP? Well, not murder, manslaughter maybe. No, because it's not really important, because that's not the tone that story goes for. They're just enemies like the tons of other random monsters which jump you. So ultimately, it just comes down to the tone, I personally think, and I think Uncharted has such a light tone overall that to me it's hard to really bitch about the amount of killing. And I'm just gonna beat down on another point. And I saw with Infinite, I mean, I didn't like Infinite much, but one of the big criticisms is, why is it a shooter and does it need to have all this combat? And it's a Bioshock sequel, of course you've got to shoot people. Why would you not be killing a ton of people in a sequel to Bioshock, a game in which you shot a ton of people? I'm not saying it couldn't have been done better. I just feel people looked at it the wrong way round. They went, how can we make this gameplay justify this story? When I more question, how can we improve this story and make it work better with this game? And another thing to note is that I wasn't a fan of Infinite's gameplay much either, but I'm just saying that it seems a bit like, it seems like the wrong way to look at it and say we need to completely change the type of game this is to justify this. When, you know what, just make it like, if they wanted to make a non, to be fair, Infinite pretty much is a non-Bioshock game when you compare it and hold it up to the previous titles in terms of a lot of the mechanics, but I just feel it's such a backward way to look at it. And I mean, if you remove the combat from Uncharted, what would you have? You would have a game that consists of very visually impressive, but ultimately very shallow platforming and puzzles. And I've said before, I feel like I'm repeating the Tomb Raider review here, but, and this isn't a review, this is me just talking about a subject. I haven't played Uncharted 4, I've played the previous 3, I think they're all pretty good. I think 2 is generally fantastic, I think 1's a bit weak, I think 3 is sort of like a worse version of 2, but I generally like 2 a hell of a lot. It's my second favourite Naughty Dog game, probably. It's a way ahead of The Last of Us. I'm not actually that big on that, but yeah, whatever. It's like, and yeah, unlike Tomb Raider, it's not as horribly bogged down because it's got proper pace. But I just question, like, why would you want? There are countless platforming and well, they used to be. I would like to see a new, proper, well presented one with, you know, as far as 3D platformers go, with actual challenge and complexity rather than just being, you know, a fairly dumbed down stuff you get in Enslaved and Uncharted. But the platforming and puzzles, all that stuff, it's too shallow in my opinion to hold the game on itself. So I feel like Uncharted is ultimately a third-person shooter, much like Tomb Raider, and much like Tomb Raider, it's looking at it the wrong way round. Like, you can't remove this shooting because you have so little of a game left if you do. If you remove the shooting from Uncharted, then ultimately you have something like a Telltale game almost. Something that is almost just an interactive cartoon with a little exploration. And you know what? Let me defend removing the combat from something. Okay, I think Telltale, since it's clear they have so little interest after playing a few of their titles in actually making gameplay exciting outside of some of the choices, I don't see why they couldn't just get rid of all the QTE combat. It's not particularly good. Unlike a better title like a Shenmue title, you don't get any real effect for failing or winning most of the QTEs. That's just make it. Why not just make it choices? I defend that. The QTEs aren't good enough, so why keep them? So that's really it. Basically, I don't think Uncharted needs to remove the amount of killing because tonally it doesn't in any way ring untrue to what the series is. The death isn't treated seriously because the series isn't about how serious killing someone is. And also, removing the combat would be fucking terrible because it would leave us with an incredibly shallow game based nearly absolutely just on spectacle and cinematics, which would kind of suck, I guess.